For the last couple of years, I've had an app on my phone which I only use once a month. But next to Fitbit sits Clue, a period tracking app. Me and my partner both downloaded it so we could track our fertility. And although I only occasionally check in on it, I've only just realised the amount of data it asks her for. Which leads me to the question, is that data secure? Or does Clue have blood on its hands? Part 1. A brief history of Femtech. In September 2014, Apple debuted their health app. At the time, Senior VP of Software Engineering, Craig Federighi, said,
"And with health, you can monitor all of your metrics that you're most interested in your activity."
But funnily enough, for nearly a year this didn't involve period tracking, leaving women only a notepad and the moon to work with. This is where third-party apps come in, like Clue, Flow and I Am a Man, an app designed to help men track more than one woman's period at the same time, updating them on their, quote, horniness and hormonal days. Right there should have been the first red flag that maybe these apps aren't using our data in the most ethical way possible. Period tracking apps are the fourth most downloaded type of app for adults, right behind Tinder and Domino's Pizza. Of course, these do all move around depending on the time of the month. This is unsurprising when you remember that about half the population has a period every 28 days. By 2016, there were dozens of third-party apps where you could track your menstrual cycle, basal body temperature, cervical mucus quality, and hundreds of other things that I only learnt about by researching this video. Put the pads down, women. No, not those pads, the notepad. You'll still need pads. It sounds great until you realise that you're giving very personal data away to part of the tech industry that isn't regulated. In 2016, Columbia Medical Center decided to investigate the entire field. Looking at 108 free period tracking apps, they concluded that most had inaccurate or little to no medically verified information in them. In case you were wondering, they clarified that most means 95%. This isn't like where 3 out of 5 family members voted for a pizza takeaway and you can claim that means it's a majority decision. But 5 years later, it doesn't look like this report had a major impact on the growth of these apps. By 2018, period tracker Glow had around 15 million users and their rival app Clue had around 10 million. So why would millions of people download apps that are unregulated, don't involve medical professionals, offer less accurate information than the average Google search, and still give them their most personal and private health data? The answer is advertising. Part 2. How period trackers are advertised. The first period tracking apps ran feminist marketing campaigns over social media and heavily relied on digital word of mouth to spread their message. The advantage, they claimed, was that their app would either allow you to avoid or plan pregnancy, two pretty key features for their target audience. Taking control of your body and health, which can only be a good thing, right? Only it's not that simple. At the time, these apps had features like polls and forums, like a private social network based around periods. They published some of the results on their company blog under health surveys, showing things like hormonal shifts throughout the month, but they also asked you questions for things that were less related to your period, and then never published a result, which leads me to the question, why are you giving them all that data? It's like BuzzFeed, but instead of telling you something interesting like which Disney character you are, it just keeps collecting that data for as long as you... Thanks, Leona. That's decades of information. I wonder why that might be helpful. Oh, and in case you were wondering, my Disney character is Tinkerbell, because we both need laughter and applause to stay alive. Failing that, you can like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thanks, babe. If it's good enough for her, it's good enough for you. Part 3. What data do they collect? On the surface level, period tracking apps collect seemingly unrelated and random data, much like the social networks, like your battery life, your location data, or your contact information. When you first get a free app, you're up on the deal because they don't have much of your data and you're getting a free service. But those scales quickly tip in the other direction when you realise that the value of your data is worth so much more than the service they're providing. They asked you about your mood, flow, hair, nails, discharge, pain, sexual activity and more. In exchange for that, they offered you 2 vital bits of information: when your period is due and when you're meant to have your fertile window. And now you don't even get to know when your fertile window will be. They're normalising intimate surveillance, and you don't even get the advantage of their scientific data modelling. Cambridge Analytica showed that companies can work out your political beliefs just from 150 likes on Facebook. Imagine what they can extrapolate or assume about you based on your period data. So what exactly are they doing with all that data if it's not helping you with your health or fertility? Part 4. What do they do with the data? There are 3 ways that period tracking apps could be using your data. It could be shared with scientists scientists for research purposes, here represented by a stock video of a woman looking at a smoking test tube. We'll dive further into this later on in the video. Secondly, it could be aggregated to create user profiles, and then that data would be sold on. This would be anonymous and usually the average of part of their user base. In the past, this has been sold to famously ethical insurance companies. And in what must be the worst period leak of all time, we discovered that 61% of apps share their data with third parties, including Facebook, Google, and others who might be worse. I can't think of anyone worse than Facebook or Google to share my most intimate data with. I'd rather share my balls with a crocodile's mouth.
Simon, do not talk about your balls in the video about periods.
Fair enough. And finally, they could sell it to other companies for advertising and marketing purposes. Now, clues say they don't sell your data onto anyone, specifically Facebook, unless you use the social login. But they make it clear this isn't industry practice and other apps do. Meaning that they're the good guys. I mean good women, saying their app could do this, but doesn't. But they fall short of naming the competitors who do. I'm guessing there's some sort of legal issue there. Clue learned from the Cambridge Analytica scandal that people don't understand the world of surveillance capitalism or how their data is being used and sold, but they do now understand that it makes people feel icky. So they created Clue Plus in order to fund themselves going forward. Until that point, users have had to opt out of having their data being sold. And as we've discussed multiple times on this channel before, opting in and opting out are very different features. One asks for permission and one asks for forgiveness after the fact. To their credit, they did listen to their user base and said that if in future they are going to sell data to Facebook, why? They'll ask them to opt in. They openly acknowledged they needed to give Facebook access to 3 data points in order to use their ad platform. If someone installed the app via the adverts, how much the user is using the app, if the user purchased anything in their app, innocent user research into the ad platform, or the thin edge of a very large data mining wedge. Which side you fall on very much depends if your last name is Zuckerberg. Clue said they gave Facebook the minimum data they could and specified they never told them whether you were ovulating or not. How kind of them. They then went on to confirm that competitor apps have done this, but omitted saying which ones, thereby claiming the moral high ground built on a bedrock of doing the bare minimum that their users would expect them to do in the first place. They might not name and shame, but I will. In September 2020, Glow paid $250,000 in a civil penalty and injunctive terms related to... They sold your data to Facebook. In February 2021, Flow got in trouble with the Federal Trade Commission over sharing data with third-party apps like Facebook after promising to keep sensitive health data private. A good old-fashioned pad and pen must be looking pretty good right now. Part 5. Manipulative marketing. For years, marketeers have used every trick in the book, and yes, there are a lot of books, to influence our mood in order to get us to buy more. It's the main reason why they play certain types of music in supermarkets and use certain colours and imagery in restaurants. You're less likely to spend more money on fruit and veg if Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter is playing at Tesco's. However, you are more likely to buy a box of tissues and a rom-com if Ed Sheeran is playing. Your mood impacts your buying habits. Hot take, I know. So by knowing where you are in your cycle, marketeers can advertise to you more effectively.
Here comes the science bit.
If you've ever had a period, you can just skip to this timestamp. You really don't need to listen to this next bit. In the first 14 days of your period, estrogen is released, which increases your sexual desire. As a result, you'd be more likely to buy things that make you feel sexy or attractive. Basically, the best marketing message is, this will help you compete with other women for the attention of the person you're interested in. In the second half of your period, progesterone is released. This is key to maintaining a pregnancy. As a result, you're more likely to buy products to make your house feel like a home, nesting and parental products. And you're not immune to this if you don't get pregnant. You're just more likely to buy something like a houseplant, which your boyfriend will end up having to water. Imagine a world where The Handmaid's Tale was written by Mark Zuckerberg and you start to get some understanding of why women aren't exactly over the moon at him getting his grubby little hands on their most intimate data. That's not all. I am now linked to my girlfriend in the app and advertisers know that. So they can now show me adverts for things that she's Googled at optimum times of the month. Okay, that one I have less issues with. It could actually help me make up for the houseplant that I killed. Advertisers don't care about your period.
Once more for the people at the back.
Advertisers do not care about your period. What they do care about is knowing the best time to advertise their product to you. And thanks to period tracking apps, they are making it easier than ever. Knowledge is power, and with great power seems to be coming little to no responsibility. Part 6. What could be done with your data? In 2019, I read a book called Invisible Women by someone. and it was eye-opening to say the least. It showed me just how much of the world had been created with men, and often white men, being considered the default. As a result, there's a huge data gap between the sexes. With millions of women out there tracking their periods, we're getting more menstruation data faster than ever before. I mean, it'll still take decades, but it'll be quicker than the thousands of years it's taken us to get to where we are right now. I think this is a key reason why so many people are enthusiastically giving away this extra information to apps. They're hoping to help bridge that data gap, but the fact of the matter is you don't need to know what kind of underwear I was wearing to track my period. Part 7. What can be done about it? Not a lot. Sorry, force of habit. Actually, this situation could be remedied a lot easier than some of the privacy issues we've covered on this channel before. You have the power not to log your data. This is private information, and period tracker apps can't track what you don't tell them. Some people have suggested giving incorrect data to screw up the AI behind the app. However, this would also screw up any medical research it was being used for, so it's not quite spoiling your ballot. The first thing you can do in any apps is avoid social logins. These will link you to Facebook or Google, who will use that data to manipulate your future behaviour to try and sell you shit you don't need. We could advocate for the NHS to build a not-for-profit app. All of the apps mentioned in this video have said that some of the data is going to medical research, so why not cut out the middlewomen and get the doctors, nurses and scientists to run the app directly? I will say, having read a lot of privacy policies, the ones on these period tracking apps websites were actually written quite well and in plain English. Even me, someone who has never had a period before, could understand them. In the grand scheme of things, period tracking apps do listen to their user base and change if they're not happy. So we actually have a real opportunity here to not only change the way these apps operate, but also set a precedent that apps like Facebook and Instagram can't just track us without being clearer. It's a bit like wrestling. Stay with me. In the arenas, the audience, or in this case the users of the app, are mic'd, meaning they have a voice. And when they boo the privacy change, Vince McMahon, or in this case Clue, listens. It's happened before. Clue offered a paid subscription model in order to make up the revenue lost from selling your data. It's not ideal. No one should have to pay to not have their data sold, but it is a step in the right direction. And now we have the ability to shift it once more. I believe in you. You should believe in you. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. If you liked it, like it, and don't forget to subscribe, as I make one new comedy video every single week. If you appreciate the work that's gone into this and you want to support me as an indie content creator to continue making videos like this, please do consider becoming an Internet Explorer via my Patreon. There's a link downstairs in the description. Why not join my shiny new subreddit, the Internet Explorers, where we talk about data, privacy, and the worst flats on the internet. There's a link for that downstairs in the description as well.